softer rear tyre, but it's not as simple as that. Spargo has said, even if the sprint was 5 laps, he wouldn't be running that soft.
tes. Oke, mantap.
Brace yourselves, strap yourselves in, folks. It's sprint time in sunny Spain. The world's best rides on the world's fastest motorcycles about to duel it out over 12 thrilling laps here in the sprint and of tomorrow's full distance Grand Prix of Spain. Aleix Espargaro on pole position after a sensational Q2 this morning, which saw some riders start that short 15-minute session on rain tyres, and at the end of it, Aleix Espargaro's 1:37.216 was not a million miles away from the all-time lap record, was it? Stunning scenes this morning, and we're expecting more breathtaking action in this sprint coming your way.
Salah.
Champion Pekka Bagnaia, second in the standings. He goes from the middle of that second row in 5th place. As we mentioned, he has been the superstar so far of the Tissot sprint. The fans are ready. We're ready as the warm-up lap gets underway here then at the Circuito de Jerez Angel Nieto. Love that shot as well, pre-race as Valentino Rossi embraced Dani Pedrosa, and a journey into the unknown for Pedrosa as he prepares for his first Tissot sprint. Let's quickly pop back down to Simon Crafer in pit lane, who's got some time information from Michelin Motorsport manager Piero Taramasso.
Piero, I've heard from riders there's very different likes, meaning when it comes down to tyres, some like the soft, some like the medium. Can you tell us what they've chosen and why?
Yes, the choice was not very easy. For the front, most of the riders they will go with the front medium because the short distance for the sprint. A couple of riders they will go with the hard front because more support and the grip level is the same. But this is for aggressive rider. In the rear is a split, half with the rear soft, half with the rear medium. With the soft rear, you will get more initial grip for the first 2 laps, and then the tire is supposed to be get some movement because of the heat very high, is 50 degrees on the track. So the rear soft will move a little bit more, while the medium, it will lose a little bit the first 2 laps in initial grip. By the stability, the movement from the bike, they will be less. So we have to see which one they do the right choice. Both tires, they will go through the distance because it's only 12 laps. Then for tomorrow, probably the choice we will change because longer race.
Thank you, Piero.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thanks, Piero. Thanks, Simon Crafer. Lovely message there on screens. We're missing Paul Espargaro and that big beaming smile of his arm. If you're watching at home, Paul, hope that recovery from that serious injuries in Portimao is going well. He tweeted or posted his Instagram feed here on the Vamos brother.
Kita lihat
and
ya,
he'll be watching at home now. I'm sure he's biting his
apakah
fingernails as he sees
Vinales sudah
getting ready to lead the field away
bisa start dengan
12
baik.
laps coming up here in the Tissot sprint. Jack Miller, as he so often does, it's the big
Jack Miller front row dan kita get Pedrosa. Bisa sampai apa Pedrosa sekarang? Podium gokil sih. Mana Vinales naik dia?
It's going to be full throttle and lights out here in Jerez. Jack Miller got away pretty well.
Not bad sih.
He eases past Aleix Espargaro. He might have the inside line going up the hill into the first pro corner. It's the 2 KTMs though that make the early running. Aleix Espargaro back in 3rd.
And Bagnaia up 1 into 4th. He nearly made contact with Jorge Martin. Martin got pinched on the run down to turn 1. He's already lost another place to Miguel Oliveira.
Vinales. Ijia ya. Maverick. Maverick. Alex Marquez. Alex Marquez jatuh. Morbidelli.
Alex Marquez.
Is it Marco Bezzecchi?
Marini atau Bezzecchi? Bezzecchi ya? Red flag nggak sih?
So we've got Alex Marquez, early drama here, then as the riders jostle for position on that first lap. Bezzecchi, the world championship leader, he gets crashed out with Morbidelli and Alex Marquez.
So Bagnaia through into 3rd now. He's gone past Aleix Espargaro. Then it's Oliveira in 5th. Martin then down into 6th place. Dani Pedrosa, his first sprint lap in 7th. Quartararo up into 8th place. He's gained 8 places.
We've also lost Augusto Fernandez on the first lap. So
Quartararo naik 8 posisi.
Red flag.
Ya kan udah bener refleks. Bezzecchi diem aja soalnya.
So we're not even completed lap number 1 here in the Tissot sprint. The KTM boys will soon see that the red flag has come out then after the multi-rider pile-up. It looks like there's been a fire there on Marco Bezzecchi's machine as well. Let's hope that the Italian is okay. Well, the good news is he's been removed certainly from the scene. So that's the reason why we had Alex Marquez, Augusto Fernandez, Marco Bezzecchi, and Frankie
Red flag,
Morbidelli.
guys, red
Four
flag.
riders caught up in that early incident
Marquez,
here at turn
Fernandez, Bezzecchi, Morbidelli crash
fortunately
di
climbing
turn
up
2.
onto the tire barrier. We're grateful to see that because we did see him.
Bezzecchi tadi diem aja anjir. Untung udah bangun.
Look at the start then. You're gonna have to look quite a way back here. You'll see first.
Apa itu?
Of all, Martin gets away slowly and then nearly just hidden by the UFO. Nearly makes contact with the fast starting Brad Binder, who storms through into second place. And then if we look back further, you'll see Marco Bezzecchi, who's just behind Maverick Vinales. Vinales is going to run wide here into turn 2. They're just going to come into
Vinales run wide.
Vinales nearly makes contact with Morbidelli. He then makes contact with Marquez.
Morbidelli ke
Alex. Further back, he's just going to run over the Yamaha. And Augusto Fernandez has his own accident with
Alex Marquez ini dulu.
Morbidelli that tangled initially then with Alex Marquez. Here goes Vinales out
apa sih kontak sama Morbidelli?
Across track, nothing that Marco Bezzecchi could do. We're on board now then with the World Championship leader. Absolutely nothing he could do about that. It all started as the field bunched up as we expected them to in that second corner. It was Morbidelli trying to be aggressive on the inside of Alex Marquez. Their initial contact put those two down, and with nowhere to go on the outside, he was fighting for position coming through from 13th on the grid. Marco Bezzecchi launched into the air, and his damage to his motorcycle means that we have a red flag situation here. A red flag after the multiple rider incident at turn 2. I was just looking there as well. Taka Nakagami had a real horrible launch off the line. Somebody nearly ran into the back of the Japanese rider. Morbidelli looks like he's okay. Bezzecchi was able to walk away under his own steam as well. So drama, not the drama we were hoping for as well at the start of that TSO sprint.
5 menit lagi paling 5 menit.
Corner, Maverick Vinales is really wide. There we go. The race red flag due to safety conditions. Original grid positions with the race to be restarted over 11 laps. Marco Bezzecchi then has quickly been able to get himself back to the Mini VR46 racing team garage. He's hobbling a little bit. Took a real nasty whack when he landed, didn't he there, Bezzecchi?
Yeah, it's those kind of falls. Just think of Enea Bastianini's back in Portimao, those kind of falls where you're just not braced for it, you're not prepared for it, you can't brace yourself for that kind of accident. Of course, he just gets fired over the other side of the motorcycle. And in the end, fortunately, the red flag wasn't due to an injured rider. It was down to the flaming VR46 Ducati that was sat at the side of the road. Of course, no marshal was in a rush to remove that until the fire had been put out. And of course, the riders very quickly coming down. So we'll have the quick restart procedure coming up, and the pit lane will open in just over 6 minutes time.
Yeah, the riders now have to get themselves all hyped up and back in the zone yet again. Fabio Quartararo, he picked up a couple of rides in that tricky downhill braking zone into turn number 2. That got him ahead of the chaos that ensued directly behind him, instigated on the inside with Frankie Morbidelli. Here was Mike Webb, the MotoGP race director. To be eligible for the restart, a rider must enter the pit lane within 5 minutes without having taken any shortcuts.
Which Augusto Fernandez did, because you can see both of his bikes there in the Gas Tech 3 box.
So we're going to keep a close eye on whether Marco Bezzecchi, Alex Marquez...
Well, Bezzecchi's bike was still at the side of the road, wasn't it? So he will surely not be able to take this restart.
Unless he can go back out on the spare bike.
Yeah, after he got bike, but the bike didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ducati management looking on, and they'll be knowing now that the tension and the nerves are just going to get even higher, aren't they? Because it's always a very high-pressure situation when there's half the laps. The TSO sprints over 12 laps here. Everybody's trying to get a good start and be aggressive early on to fight for positions. And when it's so tight in that second gear, downhill, tricky turn number 2, unfortunately, minimal contact between Morbidelli and Alex Marquez, but the chain of events that follows, the domino effect, really hurt Marco Bezzecchi. Jorge Martin was well clear of trouble, having started from the front row. I guess it does show just how important qualifying is, particularly for the TSO. So in just under 5 minutes time, the pit lane will be reopened, and we'll get going again over the slightly shortened distance. The sprint now will be over 11 laps, one less than the original distance of 12. So the fans, I don't think we got that far, did we, before when the red flags came out, just in the stadium section as they came into turns 9 and 10. Good to see Alex Marquez looks relatively okay as well. He's still nursing a bit of a muscle problem on his upper left thigh. It's sort of given that a dead leg sensation after he was wiped out after just 3 corners of the main Grand Prix in Kota after a nasty collision with Jorge Martin.
So Lucio Cecchinello there, having a quick word to try and establish what was going on and what the rules are for this Tissot Sprint. As you can see on the bottom of your screens, 1 lap will be taken off the distance. There are both of Alex Marquez's bikes back in the Rossini box, so we can establish that he managed to get his bike back within 5 minutes of the restart. So I believe, from what we saw at the side of the racetrack, we might be missing Bezzecchi and Morbidelli, but everyone else will be able to take this restart.
You can see what it looks like. There's a bit of a cut there, a bit of a wound on Marco Bezzecchi's left elbow. Nasty one, that, a real nasty one. Nothing he could do about it. Here comes Gigi Dellini, and I think he's just going to start relaying some information to the Mini VR46 team. You can see there, Uccio Salucci right in the thick of it. I'm sure Valentino Rossi is keeping a close eye on as well. There is Dellini then, just giving the information. The pit lane will open in just over 3 minutes. Simon, I believe you've got some tyre information for us.
Yeah, just to let you know, I actually spoke to the IRTA guys as well, and they believe everything's all right for the crashed riders to restart. So nothing's stopping them. But also about tyres, I asked Piero Taramasso, you know, will they change? Will they leave the same? He said it's totally up to them. With only 1 lap on them, he says majority he expects to stay on the same. But if they have new spares heated up of the same compound and they want to use them, they can.
Yeah, thanks to that, Simon. Of course, they didn't even complete 1 full lap at racing speed there, did they, before the red flags came out. Everybody now in Mini VR46 just trying to keep Marco Bezzecchi composed. And here Constantino's up big time. Quattararo gets up the inside and Alex Marquez. And then you can see in the circle, Frankie Morbidelli just a little tap on Alex Marquez's right hip. It puts the Spaniard down. And the domino effect, the knock-on effect, unfortunately, is Marco Bezzecchi on the outside. Iklan at the back there, he had to come to a complete standstill as well, didn't he? To avoid Augusto Fernandez.
Watch out what Jean Zarco is in all this as well. He's right on the outside of the Morbidelli-Marquez collision. Marquez then straight there into the side. Jean Zarco was able to stay upright. The one rider who will also be very relieved at this restart, quite clearly, will be Maverick Vinales. Essentially, he'd already made a poor start, but he was virtually last when that incident took place. So he will get another chance. We're on board with the Spaniard now.
It looked like Zarco pretty much head-butted Alex Marquez's left-butted, didn't it, there, as he was very lucky, as Lewis points out. So what happened to Maverick Vinales then? Already Frankie Morbidelli's come on through. The 2 factory Yamahas straight away through on Vinales, and he almost tags into the back, doesn't he? Frankie Morbidelli going into that turn number 2, and you can just see it now. Almost
tiba-tiba masuk ke dalam.
His way through the chaos.
Rada gila sih.
That's the realization. The hand started going up as the red flags came out. Pekka Bagnaia, he quickly spotted the red flags. He'd have no idea what had happened behind him as he was safely through all that drama. Alex Marquez, and good news for Marquez fans and for Gresini Ducati fans. He's all set and ready to go as we get to within, 60 seconds now of the pit lane reopening for the 11-lap resumption of the Tissot Sprint.
And as you can see, the pit lane will be open for 1 minute. The riders will then come round to the grid with one of their crew greeting them, and then they'll very soon leave off for the warm-up lap once again, and we'll be racing once again for the Tissot Sprint as 2 sorry motorcycles return to the box. But Marco Bezzecchi, he's just got to try and get his head back in the frame now and just try and put that to one side, forget what's happened. He was, of course, in the middle of an accident that was none of his making, really. He just saw an accident develop up ahead of him and he had nowhere to go. So Marco Bezzecchi will have another chance from 13th on the grid.
Yeah, of course, because it's a completely new race, he can then go out to start it on his second bike. The problem is, he'd have started the Tissot Sprint initial one on what was his preferred number 1 bike. So what now lies in store for Marco Bezzecchi? So he can go out on the spare bike, then of course he was back in the garage well within the 5-minute limit.
Balik ke track.
Hasn't even had a chance to go and get a new set of leathers, has he? So the pit lane open then for exactly 60 seconds. You've got to get a hurry up here, you can't mess around. Back now heading out on circuit. There is Frankie Morbidelli. So all riders eligible for the restart. So it looks like, thankfully, after that nasty incident at turn 2, we are going to get a complete 23 rider grid. Quick procedure. Withdrawing at the end of free practice this morning. So Aleix Espargaro, and this man in particular on the factory of pretty Maverick Vinales, gets to do it all over again. We saw on the exit of the first corner, Maverick Vinales started 4th place ahead of Morbidelli and 6th place ahead of Quattararo. Yet already on the gas coming out of turn 1, the 2 factory Yamahas had found a way through on Vinales. It was obviously another poor start from the Aprilia man.
Yeah, and we had a little bit of a preview of what to expect from this second start because the KTMs absolutely launched off the line, didn't they? Jack Miller came straight through into the lead, and Brad Binder, of course, from the second row was straight into second place. The tyre selection that we got before the start of the race was interesting, and if the riders have all gone out on the same rubber, of course, if Michelin communicate any changes to us, we will let you know. Here is the grid coming up once again. Jorge Martin, starting from the back of the front row, was one of the two riders going for that harder front tyre. Espargaro, Miller, Martin, Binder, Bagnaia, Pedrosa, your top six. Then Oliveira, Zarco and Marini. Vinales has another chance from 10th ahead of Nakagami and Alex Marquez. Bezzecchi, your championship leader, 13th ahead of Morbidelli and Dijan Antonio. Quartararo has to do that lightning getaway all over again from 16th ahead of Raul Fernandez and Alex Rins. Brad Almir and Augusto Fernandez are on row 7. And on the back row of the grid, Jonas Folger and Ika Lecuona. Reminder, if you're just joining us, no Enea Bastianini.
So we're going to have the quick restart procedure, which basically means the riders will filter out of this final corner, named after 5 times world champion Jorge Lorenzo. He had some great victories and some great battles here, didn't he, in Jerez? They basically have one of their team staff to greet them on their starting position, just to make sure that everything's in working order and they're all good to go. Once they are, those one team representatives will be asked to clear there. You can see Aleix Espargaro comes up to his mechanic. He's just getting a little bit of a fist pump there. Handshake from Pekka Bagnaia. I can see it on the left-hand side of the picture. I think Mark Lloyd there waiting for Brad Binder in 4th place. Once they know that their rider and their man is okay to go, they'll be asked to rush off the grid, and we'll be back underway for another warm-up lap and then another start in the Tissot sprint after the dramatic premature red flag that ended race 1, which will now be consigned to history books about halfway around that first lap. So here we go then, the second warm-up lap underway here for the Tissot sprint in Jerez.
Well, the sprints are certainly keeping us on our toes, aren't they, so far in 2023? So far this season, we've had 7 different riders on the podium for the sprints and 5 different race leaders. What is going to happen in this one? Will the KTMs be able to repeat that lightning launch? Will Aleix Espargaro
gak bisa nayangin MotoGP-nya, ntar kena banned.
maintain that early lead?
Jadi cuman kayak gini doang, kena banned ntar, kena copyright. Lagi warm up kok. Gak live PB, gak dulu bang. Cikep nih babi. Udah sembuh Cap.
Yeah, good point, Simon. The 2 KTMs made electric starts, didn't they? They got the drop on Aleix Espargaro from pole position immediately. A KTM 1-2 when we got into that first corner, and it got them immediately out of trouble with all the drama and then shoot further back. We could have had 5 riders caught up in that early tangle cut because, as Lewis mentioned, Johan Zarco was properly out of the seat on his Prima Planet Ducati. So they sweep into the magnificent stadium section. Always a wonderful sight in the MotoGP World Championship when those grandstands
di Karawang kan, bukan di Bandung.
The Tissot sprint. Marco Bezzecchi then gets a second crack at the whip here, second bite of the cherry as he leads the World Championship.
Kemarin main PB bentar, langsung drop tuh gara-gara main PB Cap. Gara-gara main PB Cap itu mah.
Steady on, boys. I mean, we've already had a big collision.
Di rumah. Kemarin si Megi, Apis sama Ipin mau main, cuman karena di rumah lagi sakit kayak, jadi gak jadi. PB taksi.
Pekka Bagnaia, 5th place for him. Jack Miller got a superb start in the original launch off the line. He'll be looking that history quickly repeats itself here then. As we get set, red flag moves away. It's Tissot sprint, take 2 here in Jerez. Aleix Espargaro on pole position, full throttle, lights out, and we are go. Jack Miller,
Alex Espargaro langsung ngekat. Binder 1-2 lagi KTM. Alex Marquez juga.
We briefly had 3 KTMs in the top 4. Pedrosa was trying to go around the outside and got hung out to dry into turn 1. So it's KTM 1-2.
Oke, semua aman.
Now holds 3rd, and Aleix
Aman
Espargaro
semua.
dropped back behind Pekka Bagnaia, the pole man, down to 5th.
He's getting beaten up here, Aleix Espargaro in 5th place. They're all safely and cleanly through turn 2 this time around. Alex Rins was out wide, wasn't he? Coming through the fast 4th gear, turn number 4. But KTM in early dreamland here in the Tissot sprint in Jerez. They have a 1-2. Binder from Miller.
Quattararo's not made the same progress he made in the original start.
Alex,
He's only at one
terus
place
baru
in
kelima.
15th, but the championship leader Marco Bezzecchi putting that
Pedrosa.
out of his system. He was up initially
Nice,
into
nice.
9th place, but he looked wide there coming through the
Quattaro
Danny Pedrosa corner.
14.
Really wide. It's not a poor start again from Vinales through the first two
15.
sectors. Down in 12th place is the Aprilia man. Not worked out. He's moved back up into 11th as we now come through. Binder power sliding the KTM.
Martin.
Brilliant action as Martin
Attack.
goes on the inside of Miller into turn number 9. Lovely shot there of Binder lighting up that rear tyre through turn number 8. He has the advantage as they sweep in front of the packed grandstands here in Jerez. Binder, Martin, Miller, Bagnaia, Aleix Espargaro, your top 5 on lap 1.
What did we say before the start of the season? The sprint should suit Jorge Martin. He's such a good rider over shorter distances. He's eyeing up Brad Binder. Bagnaia now having a look at Jack Miller, his former teammate, who closes the door into the final corner.
That was close. Couple of rides wide. I think that was Zarco. He lost the front there, didn't he?
Chaos Madu. Belakang.
Number 13. He could see his right foot was off the foot peg. A good save there by Zarco, the Frenchman. A lap 1 then in the history books in the Tissot sprint here in Jerez. Binder leads it by just over a tenth and a half. Maverick Vinales started the race in 10th place. He comes over the line in 10th. He did regroup after a sluggish start.
So that mistake at the Danny Pedrosa corner cost Bezzecchi 3 places, back into 12th. So he's got all that hard work to do once again. Martin a little bit wide there through turn 4. That'll light up the eyes of Jack Miller, looking to restore that KTM 1-2. And Pecco Bagnaia will be just where he'd have wanted to be before this sprint began, to be in that leading group of 4, just observing what's going on ahead of him.
Yeah, Bagnaia's got great racecraft. Here comes Miller.
Oh,
He's
Miller.
waiting. Oh, that's close. He gives Martin a little bit of a tap, doesn't he, on the inside. Martin
KTM strong juga ya tahun ini.
can't get on through, but Miller was so late on the brakes. How late did he leave his braking there in that run down from 6th gear to 2nd gear into Danny Pedrosa corner? Sensational by the Aussie.
Well, Martin was so good into the stadium section on the first lap.
Martin attack.
On the second
Yeah.
lap, here he comes back up the inside
Favorit
of Jack Miller. This is all
favorit
Brad Binder as Martin
cornernya
momentarily
Martin.
takes second and loses it again.
Miller back on his inside,
Overtake
coming
balik,
through
anjir.
turn number 10. That's already 2 or 3 times on this lap 2 that Miller
Attack lagi?
Martin
Nggak
have
bisa.
exchanged overtakes. Martin tried to go for it into turn number 11, the Alex Crivier corner. Now they sweep to the fast right-hander. Ferrari for the second time. This is playing into the hands, isn't it?
Bagnaia
3. Bagnaia now pounced on the inside of Martin in the final corner. So Jorge Martin was briefly in second.
Gila tuh belakang.
Really bumping and barging
Top 8
further
itu tuh.
down the field.
8 sampai 15 rumah tuh kayaknya. Pedrosa versus lap. Pedrosa versus lap. Alex nyalip Oliveira. Wow, Pedrosa sih bisa naik top 5 nih kalau yang depan pada salip-salip sama.
Further down the field, there's been some proper old-fashioned fairing bashing going on, hasn't it? I think Alex Marquez was involved yet again as he tries to hold station inside that top 10.
Buffer lagi. Anjir, belum apa-apa udah ada track limit warning Oliveira.
There is Oliveira having a strong ride. He's inside that top 6. What can he do about the factory, the latest spec Aprilia directly ahead of him? He's closing in here on Aleix Espargaro, who got really bashed around that first lap. Pole to 5th. He's not been able to move any further forward.
Yeah, trying to work out what went on in that group further back. Quattararo lost out. He's back to 14th. And Bezzecchi was another rider who clearly was on the wrong side of all that chaos. He's lost further ground in 13th. Remember, only points for the top 9. And Bezzecchi at the moment facing a tall order to even get 1.
Yeah, and it could get worse because if Pecco Bagnaia can find a way through on the 2 KTMs ahead of him, far easier said than done, of course. He would actually go into the main Grand Prix here tomorrow, leading the World Championship. He's 11 points behind Bezzecchi, and with no points on offer right now for the Mini VR46 man. Here comes Miller
overtake Binder.
His factory KTM teammate Brad Binder. He made that work beautifully. There was not a lot of room there, but he made it work, didn't he? And now Jack Miller hits the front in the Tissot sprint. 3 laps of 11 completed. It was a personal best lap that from Miller, a 1:37.985, 6/10 quicker than Binder behind him.
1.4 seconds covers your leading 7 in this sprint on lap 4 of 11. Then there's a 1.2 second gap back to a group being led by Johan Zarco, who did a 1:38.3 last time around, 4:10 slower than the race leader.
Medium
Zarco
soft.
in a bit of a lonely 8th,
Miller Binder.
Yellow flags out in sector 1. Jonas Folger Paul Espargaro's injury replacement, another rider that's got a track limit this morning, trying to find
Alex
out
Marquez jatuh.
Alex Marquez.
Sektor
Well, that's
1.
two crash in the space of about 20 minutes, isn't it now, for Alex Marquez? He was the innocent victim of the early tangle before the red flags came out, and Alex Marquez has crashed out. So that's now 2 sprints in a Grand Prix.
Peko.
3 races in a row now that Alex Marquez isn't going to trouble the point scoring places.
Yeah, it looked like Bagnaia was really on the turn 2
Turn
again, so
two.
it's caught Marquez out twice. Of course, one of them was connected with another rider. This time, has Alex Marquez gone down on his own, or is he connected again? We're on board with Vinales, who's just behind Alex Marquez, and he just goes down on his own. Vinales having to check up there to avoid making contact.
Oh, you could hear there.
Just loose.
Properly had to chop the throttle there, didn't he, to avoid the contact. So the yellow flags are still out. Back with the lead group. Can't take your eyes off this one, can you? It's been a
Sektor
stunning
1, 2, 1, 3, 4. Bagnaia, Bagnaia, Nakagami.
Yellow flags are out now in
Nakagami's
sectors
gone down
1,
as well, I
3
think.
and 4.
Nakagami out.
So Taka Nakagami's love affair with Jerez, that's come to a bit of a bitter end. Yeah, he's
Bagnaia
gone
sini,
down.
attack.
So Nakagami. Here
Last
comes
corner.
Bagnaia trying to find a way through on Binder into the final corner. No way through. Binder slams the
Tutupnya
door
bagus
shut
banget ya.
as Jack Miller then will lead. Great launch, great acceleration grip coming out of that final corner for Miller, and he leads by just over 3/10. Start of lap 5.
Takes a brave rider to outbreak Brad Binder as Pecco Bagnaia just found out into the final corner. This leading group of 7 continuing to match each other foot pace. In fact, the fastest rider of this group once again on the last lap was Dani Pedrosa.
Jadi
As
Pedrosa
Taka Nakagami
paling
stomps
kencang
away
dari yang
from
lain.
this crash on the Honda. Vinales is seeing plenty of action in front and behind him, isn't he?
This is into
Iya,
turn 9,
loose
isn't
front.
it? Classic Jerez turn 9 crash there, just as you feed the power back in, unloading the front, and it just washes you out from underneath you. This is a clash ride, isn't it? A game by world
Maverick
champion
Vinales track
Pecco Bagnaia.
limits
He looked lost all
sama
the sea
Marini.
yesterday. No front feeling, couldn't stop
Warning.
the bike, couldn't get into the corners on the Ducati yesterday, but they always find something when it really matters, doesn't it? And now Pecco Bagnaia continuing to heap the pressure on the 2 KTMs directly ahead of him. Miller sweeps through the high-speed turn number 7. Binder keeping him company. Right, now there is your live championship. Marco Bezzecchi would hang on to the World Champions League by the slender margin of 4 points. He tries to work his way towards the top 9. He's 11th at the moment.
Jack
on
Miller,
circuit.
Bagnaia dapat track limit warning.
Slightly wide there, just to disappear.
Anjir, banyak banget,
Going
Cok.
around turn 8, but he still holds the lead. He's also been
Baru
given
4 lap.
a track limits warning. It's going to be easy to pick out the riders that haven't been given one very shortly.
Satu kali lagi.
You can see Brad Binder
long lap
much
nih.
closer to his teammate than he was the previous lap. Are the KTM's going to renew hostilities again?
Apakah Binder akan attack?
7th place
Last
on that
corner?
last lap,
Oh,
the fastest
belum
rider
bisa.
on circuit, yes, was the 37-year-old old but gold Dani Pedrosa. 1:38.101. He's still keeping himself in this podium fight. Lap 5 done and dusted. Binder's got the hammer down as we expect he would do. Personal best lap of the race for him, a 1:38.067. Just under a couple of tenths quicker than Miller directly ahead of him.
No real progress being made further back by Bezzecchi or Quartararo. Bezzecchi's running 11th. Here he is, just behind his teammate Luca Marini. Bezzecchi is 5 seconds off the race.
Kenapa
lead.
di hidden,
Personal best
Bin?
last time around, it was the best part of half a second slower than Pedrosa was going further ahead. So at the moment, Bezzecchi facing a real uphill climb to salvage any points.
What is Bagnaia doing right now? Is he just biding his time, keeping his powder dry, just keeping a close eye on the 2 KTMs ahead of him, working out where they're strong, where they're weak around this 4.4-kilometre Jerez circuit? You're not going to outbreak Jack Miller into turn number 6, are you? After we saw that aggressive, fantastic early move on Jorge Martin. Bezzecchi goes through then on his teammate Luca Marini. A bit of friendly fire further down the field. So Bezzecchi now up inside the top 10. Still not good enough though for a point-scoring finish in this sprint.
He's got a second and a half to make up to Maverick Vinales if he's going to get that point. Every point vital, of course, this season. So many of them up for grabs as this leading group. And that's a crash for Alex Espargaro.
Alex Espargaro
Alex
out.
Espargaro's having a wretched season, isn't he? He was 15th in Argentina. He crashed out
Sayang
of
banget.
the Cota Grand Prix on lap number 1.
Top 5
on
malah.
a weekend that had been stellar in Spain up until
Pole
that very
position.
point. He was the quickest man
Jatuh.
on Friday, and he was on pole position this morning, but it's gone horribly wrong again for Alex Espargaro. So we've lost one of our big contenders here in the sprint.
The KTM sideways going into the final corner. Cautious coming into the head. Coming into this season, we were probably thinking we might see 1 or 2 podium walkouts for Ducati this season. It's not beyond the realms. The we could see a sprint podium lockout for KTM if Danny Pedrosa keeps this going.
That's a dejected trudge and a half. If you ever saw one, is it for Aleix Espargaro? Just like the
Ya, kayak nakagami persis jatuhnya.
They're just hugging the inside curve there, Aleix Espargaro. It all went wrong really.
Loose
From
front.
the very first corner, he swept to his right to try and cut off.
Hampir itu Bagnaya. Track limit.
As Martin finds a way through Bagnaya.
Cek balik Bagnaya.
Bagnaya just cuts to the inside line, swings back into third place.
Pedrosa juga dapat track limit warning dong.
Around the outside came Binder, he was quickly then pushed back down to fifth place and never really recovered. You just wonder whether there might have been a front tire pressure
Binder
issue
agak
as well for
wide.
Aleix Espargaro.
As Darren Binder goes a little bit wide, Brad Binder, sorry, wide there into turn 6. It was a mistake from Bagnaya through turn 4.
Kasar, gak like. Parah. Aku aja biasa aja loh, Vin. Parah Vin, Cok. Kan ada yang namanya copyright, jadi gak bisa nayangin dong.
Pecco's position third and further back in that group when they're all bunched up. Martin, Aleix, you're going to be cooked from the heat in front with this high temperature as well, ambient and track. I really think that has played into those. The reason for those two crashes. One other thing, I think it's also the reason that both Jack and Brad Binder have fought tooth and nail to not let anyone pass.
Yeah, thanks to that Simon at the moment. This is the biggest gap that the KTMs have had over pacar Bagnaya.
Pedrosa nggak bisa attack dari tadi dah.
Having some front tire pressure problems in that group, or they just sort of having to roll out of it a little bit just to maybe get some cool air on that front tire, or if he just doesn't have the pace of the two KTMs ahead of him, which could be the case because Miller and Binder are absolutely superb right now. They both exchanged 138.2s. Bagnaya was at 138.5. Likewise, Martin. So the two KTM men took 0.3 of a second out of the two Ducati directly behind them on that lap 7.
You wonder as well whether Bagnaya might just be thinking, if I just give myself a little bit of a breather, just let my front tyre cool down, maybe I can come back at them late in this race. Still 3.5 laps to go, of course, with the KTMs ahead of him. Bagnaya might also think long term, this will do me just fine.
Look at that. Binder was so late on the brakes there. Miller is like dynamite, isn't he, on the front end of that KTM into turn number 6. And here comes Oliveira. Having a real good fight here with Danny Pedrosa. They're going to be side by side.
Pedrosa.
Turn number 8. That's going to be really close. Pedrosa gets his
Sector
nose
3,
wide.
yellow flag. Apa nih?
A pretty machine. Yellow flags back out in sector 3.
Masih 15 ke bawah paling.
See who we've lost.
Ya kan bener. John Mir.
Deary me. Mia's just horrible 2023. Just keeps going from bad to worse. That's their third crash of the weekend so far, and his third DNF in 4 sprints so far in 2023. He's having a miserable time, isn't he, for Juan Mir on that factory Honda. Back at the front again, sideways, speedway style is Brad Binder on that KTM RC16 into the Jorge Lorenzo corner, but still he can't find a way through on Miller.
This is what happened to Juan Mir as he made contact with Augusto Fernandez.
Loose
No,
front
he's just
paling.
running behind him. The front end is going to cry enough. That's really been the story of Juan Mir's weekend so far. It has been a nightmare for the 2020 world champion so far. Bagnaya, is he coming back a little bit on this lap at the factory KTMs in front of him? You can imagine Pit Buyer and company in the KTM box watching this thinking, we're loving our riders 1 and 2, just please don't run into each other.
Aleix Espargaro, it was a wonderful Saturday morning. It's been a woeful Saturday afternoon. That's his second DNF in 4 sprints so far this year. Still searching for his first.
Aduh, buffer. Aduh, buffer. Buffer, oi.
As well as Binder's breathtaking action here in the sprint.
Binder was in a speedway race there on the way into the Danny Pedrosa corner, but that was a warning sign, wasn't it? A warning shot across the bows of his teammate Jack Miller, of course, the only other rider other than Bagnaya so last year to win a sprint was Brad Binder.
Apa terlalu berat ya?
Wants to taste some race-winning Prosecco in the Tissot sprint as well. He holds off Binder in the
gitu,
braking zone for turn number 13.
Nyantai.
Super sideways going into turn number 6. There are just 2 laps to go then here, just under 9 kilometers remaining of this Tissot sprint here in Jerez, and it's Jack Miller with the advantage. They drop down the hill into turn number 2. Binder closes on the brakes. He's really good, isn't he, into turn 2, Binder on that KTM. Bagnaia not really making any sort of significant inroads here. He's still just under 4.5 tenths back at Binder in second place. I think that was that smoke coming off the rear tyre of Brad Binder there, just as he was sliding it through turn 4. Not a mechanical problem. He's just lighting up that rear tyre on the power. They're screaming for grip, aren't they, here now? The two KTM boys, side by side, elbow to elbow, knee to knee, in the braking zone for the Pedrosa corner.
Alah, buffers ya.
Or is he?
He's locked to lock, isn't he? On that
Gila, Binder.
Binder has it. 11.5 to go here in her.
Kenapa dah?
Well, Miller was taking that middle line, the defensive.
Perasaan bitrate-nya agak tinggi.
As the KTM squabble amongst themselves.
He's not cooking up a barbecue on that rear tyre. Binder is cooking up a South African braise, and there's smoke pouring off the rear tyre as he came through turn number 8. It's like a smoke bomb. Can't find a way back through on Miguel Oliveira. Is there anything left for Bagnaia and Martin in terms of a Ducati sprint win here as Bagnaia tries to go for the triple success? A last lap on the way here then. KTM of course for a dream 1-2 here in the sprint, but here comes Bagnaia starting to close up on Miller.
Yeah, is Miller fading just a little bit? He still looks much more in control than his teammate does, I have to say. Leading this race on the final lap, Binder looking to repeat that success of Argentina, and look at the time he's put into Jack Miller in the first part of this lap. Already as they come through the first sector, he's increased that lead to 0.4 of a second.
Yeah, this has been an awesome lap and a half, hasn't it, by Brad Binder? Once he got that lead into the Pedrosa corner on the previous lap. Look at the gap now. He is streaking away. Here comes Bagnaia.
Bisa nggak nih Bagnaia?
World champion. Miller's going to get picked off again here. He's so good on the front end of that KTM in turn 6.
Oh, Bagnaia. Bagnaia naik.
Lose the podium here as well. Miller just about brings it back in front of Jorge
Bagnaia naik.
Martin. But Jack Miller's got it all on here now to hang on to the podium.
Alah.
Yeah, it could come down to a battle between the former teammates into the. Giving up on second place just yet.
And Martin wants that podium. You just feel like there's going to be a gung-ho move coming, as there so often has been, into Jorge Lorenzo corner in turn 13 here in the Earth. It's been the scene of so many iconic lane battles in MotoGP. Looks like Brad Binder has got this sprint covered off here, though. Bagnaia not going to be close enough to attack him in the final corner. Binder then on the brake, sideways again into turn 13. Bagnaia looks like he's going to take second. Miller will cling on to third place. He deserves that podium, but there is more. Brad
Binder menang. Iwan Binder, Bagnaia 2. Pedrosa 6. Aduh, DJ satu lagi. Apa sih jaraknya? 1 tenth doang, 10.
In 4 for Brad Binder. These two certainly love Super Saturday afternoons.
A 1 and 3 for KTM, 2 and 4 for two of the Ducatis. Oliveira got 5th in the end. Pedrosa 6th in his first ever Tito sprint. Maverick Vinales beat Johan Zarco to 7th on the final lap, and Marco Bezzecchi does salvage 1 point. That crash of Aleix Espargaro promotes him into the points. He maintains the world championship lead heading into tomorrow's Grand Prix.
Can you believe the
Pindah
few
F1
hours
bisa nggak ya?
that this young man has had here in Jerez? He started this morning in Q1. He started Q2 on rain tyres, I think. He did, and then came out, managed to get himself 4th place on the grid. What an absolute stunner that was from Brad Binder. We thought he would love this new sprint format. He has embraced it quite brilliantly. Huge credit as well to Pekka Bagnaia, because as we mentioned, he looked lost, didn't he, yesterday, all at sea, struggling for front confidence on that
Pindah F1 guys, pindah F1.
Between Danny
F1
Pedrosa
spin race
and Jack Miller. This was Miller desperately trying to hang on to second place, desperately trying to reel in Brad Binder away. He went in really hot, didn't he, into turn number 6. Bagnaia came through. Miller was able to fend off Jorge Martin late on to make it a double podium for KTM.
He was, I mean, to be fair, that would be coming all race. The KTMs were leaving it so late on the brakes. You saw how many times Brad Binder sailed wide into the Danny Pedrosa corner, trying to outbrake Miller. Miller outbraked himself in the end on the final lap, but what a result for KTM. 1st, 3rd and 6th in the end with Danny Pedrosa. Pedrosa just 1.7 seconds off the winner of the sprint. he adapted pretty well to the new format, didn't he?
Absolutely amazing. Let's go down to, I'm sure, a jubilant and absolutely ecstatic KTM Motorsport Director Pit Byron with Simon.
Pit, tell us what you think of your team and those two wild boys that ride for you.
You know, I love that team. I love the whole project. I mean, the boys are amazing on track, and I think the team deserves also some results for all the hard work all these guys have put in the last years. And wow, it's one of the best moments of this whole project since 6-7 years. So we enjoy that one.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Thanks to an obviously joyous Pit Byron, as he just mentioned there, one of the best days that KTM have had since they joined the MotoGP World Championship. Brad Binder, absolutely awesome job by him. We thought his sprint win in Argentina was super cool, coming from 15th place. That was
udah mulai ya?
Great ride
Udah mulai
by Dani
ternyata.
Pedrosa. He's come through and he'll say, I survived.
It's like he's controlling
Hmm,
one
Fit was
huge
safety
trip
car.
down there. Sonoda coming down to turn 3. I mean, I don't know. AlphaTauri should not have been releasing that car.
Baru
given
3 lap sih.
the condition is quite clearly in, just crabbing in the extreme. We're only under
Shopping
the
trolley stuff, isn't it, for Yuki Tsunoda?
It's absolutely hideous. So and he whacked that wall hard. That's a flat-out section that he hit the wall in. I'm amazed that he actually managed to get back round to the pit lane with the contact that he had with that barrier.
Race control investigating the release in an unsafe condition of that AlphaTauri to the racetrack. Virtual safety car is out. Full safety car is now deployed. That's a flat-out section. They need to put marshals on the circuit, and eventually we got to the destination I think we were all always heading to, the full safety car out.
There's only a little bit of debris. With the VSC, then the deltas can go up and down, and there's no way of making sure everyone is going so slowly past that bit of debris there. So the full safety car is deployed. We're counting down the laps. I mean, it's only 17 of the sprint anyway, and we're already on to lap 4. So now the full safety car will gather the race leader, which is Charles Leclerc. We're going to be a couple of laps. This is whittling away. It's going to be a third of the third, 6th Grand Prix this time.
Always inevitable on the opening laps, you're going to get issues like that. Be interesting to wind back Yuki Tsunoda's opening lap and see if we could pinpoint if there was contact there, because that's a strange place to have a failure. Flat out section, not where you want it to go wrong.
Okay, Max, we have picked up some floor damage. Just waiting for the balance shift.
How?
How do you think?
Did he really drive into the side of... I don't understand how he can keep the position and he's damaging my car. I find it ridiculous.
Russell is going all in on these opening laps. We saw it in Melbourne, we saw it again in the sprint here.
Yeah, because he knows that he's not title fighting. Verstappen has got to be a little bit more careful with him. You know, Verstappen wants to win a championship here. Russell's not going to win the championship this season. So every time they go wheel to wheel, it's Max that has to be that bit more cautious. And he wasn't particularly cautious. Actually, into turn 2, he was more ahead than he was at turn 1 when he was hanging in, and turn 3. But Max just doesn't yield. So he's going to eventually have these 50-50 moments, and it just didn't come off for him there. Tiny bit of floor damage as well. Shouldn't be huge for Max. I think he'll get over that one. He's still got a very quick race car underneath him. It's just, you know, corner 2, lap 1, tiny touch. That's racing, especially around a street as narrow and tight as this one, on medium tyres that are not up to temperature. Tiny touch.
They have sent the marshals out there. The track sectors are clear in the relevant track sectors. The incident involving releasing Yuki Tsunoda's car in an unsafe condition is going to be reviewed after the race. He is crabbing his way all the way back to the pit lane as we speak, but I wonder if it might need... Now we're clearing mini sector 12, which is where we saw some of the debris earlier on. And race control doing this one by the book. Do another lap behind Bernd Mailander, who has held that for a long while, that role in the Formula 1 safety car.
And with the full safety car, the dynamic shifts as well for Leclerc. Here we go with Yuki. This is coming through turn 3.
Nice, his teammate.
Yeah, debris gone. It's clear.
Feedback lawan teammate.
So that's Hamilton declaring that we should be racing again. So was there just a teeny tiny tap between the two AlphaTauris, and that maybe caused a failure of the front wing or the suspension front left, more likely the way that the car's been crabbing its way back round again, and is the reason that Yuki ploughed into the wall in the first place. Again, tiny tap between the two, and that was the corner after Verstappen and Russell had their nudge, and Tsunoda is out of the sprint here.
And that is the AlphaTauri being released, which is going to be investigated later on. Franz Tost looking on moments later, apparent that the car not in a state to continue any longer. AlphaTauri, who have a great record around here, on the podium with Pierre Gasly a couple of years ago. 5th place, best result of the team's entire season here last year, and yet it's just not working out. Chance for Tsunoda tomorrow, goes from 8th in the Grand Prix.
Just the rear was just off at a very bent angle where they're putting the new tyre back on, new wheel back on. Hey, safety car ending. Leclerc at the front. This is a really difficult circuit to do a safety car restart. It's such a long blast from where you'd normally be flat out, turn 16, all the way to the start line. Traditionally, we see drivers going very slow, crawling the crocodile all the way to the line, and then giving it just that short blast into turn 1. The problem you then have is tyre temp goes down and down, and we're back into another race start.
There was a cut.
Charles Leclerc on the radio reporting there was a cut.
I imagine he's talking about the bit of power there. Slight hesitation as he was going on the throttle, and a bit of engine concerns for Leclerc, who's had his concerns already this season. Only 6 points, leading this one.
Worst ever start to a campaign at Ferrari, a race where 1 year ago he was in the lead and he had a failure. Now in full restart mode, it's going to wait a lot longer before he drops the hammer. You want to give the field the least time possible behind, and you cannot overtake until the start-finish line. That is why they're waiting, and we are waiting for the Monegasque driver to take us back to racing conditions with the green flag flying, but you can't overtake, and you must be single file when you plan your overtake. You can't do the old tactics of edging up 2 by 2. Leclerc just waiting to drop the hammer. Huge pressure moment. He's waiting until the last possible moment. You don't want to leave it until the actual line, because then the rest of the field know that you've got to go. Can't be long left now, and you can see he builds his speed up and immediately tries to break the toe. Perez is going to go with him. Verstappen immediately on the cusp of going alongside George Russell, and Max Verstappen wants that place back. That's the move that we're going to get into turn number 1.
Sainz.
Won't be the only one.
Oh, nice wide Sainz.
And Sainz gets past Hamilton as well. Verstappen past Russell. Sainz gets past Hamilton. Aggressive stuff on the restart, and through goes Fernando Alonso past Hamilton, down to 7.
Sainz was brave on the brakes into turn 1 with the two side by side ahead. Verstappen passing Russell. Sainz sent it down, and that was a nice pass, allowed Fernando Alonso to come through as well. So it's Hamilton that's lost out a couple of positions side by side behind with Norris and Stroll, and Stroll taking that place against the soft tyres of Lando.
Taking that place back that he lost at the original start of the race. The
Tar, pindah dulu.
had some pace there. You have to wait until the leader takes it back to
Lando
foot flat
10.
to the floor racing before you
Leclerc
can
masih
go out of the 1-by-1
memimpin.
formation. You cannot overtake till the start-finish line, and that was timed really nicely by Verstappen, getting past Russell, and Sainz far more on the brink. Here's Verstappen then, timing it. Wait for the start-finish line, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. There it is, and he can make the move.
Perfect from Verstappen. He predicted it very well. Checo ahead. Perez held back quite a long way to try and get a bit of a jump on Leclerc, but it didn't work out for him. Leclerc can dictate when he wants to go, and Perez couldn't react. That left him a little bit under pressure from Russell, but it was Verstappen who preempted all of it and managed to come clean up the inside of George Russell before Russell could even think about a defensive move. So for all of that frustration that Max had, he's back into third.
Has that option. Verstappen in third place, then Russell, then Sainz, then Alonso and Hamilton are the closest battle, it appears. If we look back, let's just check if Perez is over speed here, gives him an opportunity. Not this time. We'll count our way back through the field. Is there a chance for Lewis Hamilton to take that place back? Not on the brakes. Fastest lap, Charles Leclerc.
DRS enabled now. Perez will get it now as he comes out of turn 2. And this should be a chance. Remember how good the Red Bull is when it opens that DRS flap. It has such overspeed, and Leclerc might want to think about looking in the mirrors.
Because Perez is gaining with every meter that he runs close, and he knows that every point is vital in his World Championship bid up against his teammate, two-time champion of the world, Max Verstappen. We're on lap 7 of 17. Got to go for the clean move, but that monster DRS does give the Red Bull that opportunity on the evidence so far this season. Charles Leclerc maintaining the lead at the front. We've had incidents already. We're on board with the man trying to take sprint victory away.
Leclerc must hammer it through these corners. This is where he's had the advantage through qualifying. The sprint shootout earlier on, but riding on board with Perez, you can see how well glued that Red Bull is. Looking at the back of the Ferrari, still within 7/10. Now he can get on the gas, and the Red Bull is better in a straight line. Another corner over the brow here, turn 15. Tight, the wall juts out at you there, and it's easy to clonk it, but the top 2 are neatly through, and Perez is still there with Leclerc. He's not broken away in the middle sector, and Perez will have DRS this time.
Perez in prime position to launch an attack on Charles Leclerc. Red Bull versus Ferrari, and now you will see the difference in speed. Charles Leclerc will be checking the mirrors as we go onto the main straight once again. One Red Bull is chasing, the second one is behind. Perez going to have a great opportunity to take the lead here. Can he take his chance? It's the DRS. Charles Leclerc's checking the mirrors, but there's nothing he can do, and Perez roars past to take the lead.
Yeah, nice move, just on the DRS. Leclerc didn't even fight it. He just knows that with the Red Bull that close, and then he opens the DRS. They're impossible to keep behind, but now Leclerc can have his own shot at DRS, and we'll go down towards turn 3.
Are we going to see pass and repass? Is there any opportunity? You can see the DRS wide open, not enough for Leclerc to come back, and Perez has cleanly made the pass, exactly what he was hoping for when he lined it up at the end of turn 16. He was within half a second. That's the amount of time to keep an eye on, and Verstappen will try and do the same in the next couple of laps.
That is an illustration of the Red Bull straight line speed and the Ferrari straight line speed. The Red Bull with DRS, a drive-by pass into turn 1. Then the Ferrari has DRS, can't even look for a lunge into turn 3. Such a weapon, the Red Bull straight line speed. Verstappen will be next behind Leclerc. Let's have another look in towards turn 2. This is on board with Russell. There's a kind of papers width apart at turn 1, almost touching on the straight there as Max comes across a little bit, and then George has a look down. There's not much space, little lock up, bit of a tap. It's racing. It's racing. And it doesn't matter, because Russell's down to 4th again immediately.
Nah.
That was the second one.
Lovely job, Max. Without contact as well. Nicely done.
Yeah, I know how to do that.
Verstappen not happy, used it as motivation, took back the place. Now, does he have a run? We go back to trackside pictures, and you can see the gap is about a second, so he'll need a few more laps to line it up. Leclerc has stayed within DRS. That could be important, not only for second place, but mainly for the defense against the Red Bull. He's going to need the DRS on the basis of the straight line
Piastri 10, Norris 11.
so far this weekend.
Can he fight back against Perez? The DRS here is going to offset the Ferrari straight line speed weakness, and he's in the DRS zone now, and barely catching down towards turn 3. He's good on the brakes though, Charles. Sends it in there, gains a meter compared to the race leading Red Bull. He's got another one just in behind, so any mistake, and if he drops away from Perez, he's going to be in the same position and be really struggling to defend against Verstappen behind. But if he can stay within a second of Perez out front, that's going to be DRS for Leclerc, and his best chance to defend from the mighty Red Bull.
Sergio Perez finds himself at the front of the sprint race for the first time. This is Oscar Piastri. It's going to be his teammate in front. This is Lando Norris on the right-hand side, disappearing back, and Piastri with the run, with the momentum, with the pass down to turn 1. And he improves up to 10th. No point for that, though. Only the top 8 scorer.
Medium tyres for Piastri. Comes past the softs of Norris.
Tertinggal
easy with DRS. Norris not fighting it. No points at the moment for 10th
bahasanya
place.
dinner.
Places, where Alex Albon is still sitting in the Williams.
Bentar lagi juga off nih. Berapa menit ya? 10 menit lagi paling.
We're ticking through the laps. Fantastic pictures as we make our way back onto the main straight as well. And Charles Leclerc is hanging on by his fingertips to the race leader. He stayed within DRS. You see, that time is not decreasing like you... we go over there, and does he get the benefit? Now he gets the benefit, and the time decreases by a couple of tenths. He's got to stay within that DRS, surely, to keep Verstappen behind.
Perez was 3 tenths quicker on the last lap. Leclerc is close to being dropped. He gets the DRS open again coming out of turn 2, can close down Perez marginally down to 3. He's got to make use of that Ferrari strength in the middle sector. He was making these 2 fantastic pole positions with middle sector speed through the cars section, taking some risks, too much in the end in the sprint shootout earlier on. He hit the wall at this corner, but he already had done the fast enough lap to start this one from the front. He's not able to take use of the Ferrari cornering at the moment to close in through the middle sector.
Further back, Hulkenberg has gained a position, and now so has Magnussen as well.
Norris kenapa anjir?
Has been passed in quick succession by Piastri, Hulkenberg and Kevin Magnussen.
Norris must have a problem the way he's
kan,
back. There's actually 4 seconds between Piastri and the Haas of Hulkenberg. I wonder if Norris has got a problem and that maybe missing some power or something was the way that Piastri came past so easily.
Traktor, naik traktor.
Tyres to be going away at all right now, lap 10, and with at least half of them, probably more than half of them, under the safety car.
Yeah, got to be a problem because Bottas is running the same compounded tyre and Bottas is about to clear Norris as well.
2 second anjir jaraknya ke Kevin.
Who gained a position, ran as high as 9th, but no chance to fight through.
Norris DNF pasti nih.
As you would expect. Let's check the gaps. Verstappen will be homing in now. And Leclerc has put all the effort in there. He's still within a second, but Verstappen getting ever closer.
Okay, no DRS now for Leclerc. He's just dropped over that second, and Verstappen is within a second, 0.6 away, and he'll get a good shot coming up. Here's Stroll on the back of Alex Albon. Piastri reeling them both in as well. That's the battle for the final point here, and Norris in the background is peeling in.
We're 3 wide. We are 3 wide in the background there, with fantastic battle between Joe Gasly and Bottas. Bottas getting shuffled backwards. The Chinese driver Zhou Guanyu finding his way. So action all the way through the field here. For those who are not having the best of weekends, they're still scrapping, whether it's for the lead, whether it's further back. Norris has been sent back out there. So
lanjut lagi Norris.
5-second session. This is stop, I should say, and this is Hulkenberg finding his way past Norris a few moments ago.
Maybe a slow puncture or something for Norris.
Easy banget nyalipnya.
Because we've just seen Hulkenberg go past.
Yeah, so there's Magnussen coming through at 4, Hulkenberg coming through as well, and Lando clearly had some level of issue and has pitted, and that's going to be him done then for the sprint. Perez, then Leclerc, over a second now there, and then it's P2 to P3, that's within a second, so Verstappen will get DRS and can charge up behind the Ferrari on the straight.
Right, take 2 now for Verstappen, who is within the gap, but Verstappen, remember, does have the damage reported by the team. That contact with George Russell in the opening corners. There's your race leader, Sergio Perez, having a long look in the left-hand mirror for where the Scarlet Ferrari is. Still not far away. That's only 1 lockup. That's only 1 moment. Look at the closing speed of the Red Bull in the background. Not enough to shape for the move as we tick into the final stages. Fastest middle section of the ground.
Kayaknya nge-lag nih, live-streamingku ya. Live-streamingku nge-lag ya.
This tire is starting to melt.
Whoa, that was a late lunge and a half from Lance Stroll, who's got some overtaking reel of moves this season. He went right around the outside of Sainz on the opening lap in Jeddah, and that was from miles back to take the final point, but it might not be done.
Albon's going to come back in, the Williams is good in a straight line. Stroll has to defend, and he's gone deep on the brakes again, but he is good on the brakes, is Stroll. Committed into turn 1. And then Albon had no fight on those Williams brakes down towards turn 3. And Stroll then has pinched that final point. Piastri's still in behind and fancies a sniff at this as well.
Piastri bisa nih,
nice move
P9.
from Lance Stroll. You always wince when someone goes that much later on brakes. And they're going to plough into the wall, but it was well measured.
So after clearing the McLaren, Kevin Magnussen clearing his teammate without mechanical issues getting in the way. He's never been out-qualified by a teammate here. He does like this configuration of circuit, and he is an 11th, so only the top 8 scoring. Albon has fallen out of DRS range, so no chance for him to reply. Piastri is within DRS range, so a chance for the Australian driver to move up to 9th in the next few moments. We look back to the front of the field, and these contenders. Charles Leclerc finishes here. It'll be 7 points, and more points than he's scored all season in a single result in a sprint.
And hang on, right, because he's actually coming back to Perez. Look, he's got DRS now again. And more that Verstappen's not been able to pressure Leclerc, but Leclerc is coming back towards Sergio Perez. His personal best lap of this sprint on the last lap, 0.3 quicker than Perez. Verstappen's now dropped away from DRS, and it's now a battle for the lead again.
This format of weekend is delivering some surprises, but a Ferrari gathering and attacking again against a Red Bull would be up there, given the form that we've seen across the opening 3 rounds. Esteban Ocon being called to the pit.
Already running pretty low down. Ocon is basically last, having started from the pit lane. Albon's still behind Stroll, so that's not one that's done yet either for 8th place. And Leclerc, then what a turnaround this would be. Leclerc not only fastest man over 1 lap this weekend, and he's proven that twice, but if Ferrari, who have perennially been chewing up their tyres, can come back later on in the sprint here at the Red Bull that's been masterful on its tyres, this would be some turnaround. They're much happier with the car. Leclerc particularly has been flying this weekend. They're happier in general. It's not just Leclerc's Baku speciality. That is true. He's taken his 3rd pole in a row here. He's fantastic on this circuit. But the Ferrari car is more hooked up, and even over longer distance now it's showing.
So this is further back. This is going to be Hülkenberg losing a position to Zhou Guanyu, the Alfa Romeo driver, making his way by both of them on the same compound of tyre. Zhou Guanyu fights his way through to 12th position. He's up a couple of places from where he started. Gasly, the driver behind him, up 4 places. Perez is the race leader, having gained that position from Charles Leclerc. I think he got the message that he needed to hurry up from his team. It was his personal best first sector. Leclerc going nicely at the end of the lap. This one's still in the balance, but there's 1.3 seconds now for the lead of the sprint.
No DRS now at all. Perez more than a second clear of Leclerc, Leclerc more than a second clear of Verstappen, but any mistake and they're going to be pounced upon, either Perez or Leclerc, because the battles are not over. Russell lapping just a few tenths slower than Verstappen on the last lap. Mercedes not awful in the race trip.
Move in the background, out of the slipstream for Nick de Vries, and the message from Valtteri Bottas that we moved past because of that late-breaking move from Lance Stroll. But he said the tyres were melting, and more evidence of that now as de Vries, making his way in his first full season of Formula One, finds a way by and immediately gets on the attack to try and clear another driver who seems to be struggling. You see Hülkenberg, having been passed just a few moments ago by Joe and Gasly, now dropping way back from them, and de Vries looking to try and improve to 14th position on lap 14.
Hülkenberg has got some sort of issue out there as well, I'm sure, the way that he's plummeting down the order on the medium tyres. Bottas down there on the soft, not enjoying the soft tyres at all. Joe's got himself in 12th and under pressure here from Gasly in 13th. Gasly just happy to get any level of laps in so far this weekend. Not gone his way. Had a fiery Alpine at that corner early on in practice, cost him the only practice session, plenty of miles, and he's been on the back foot, crashed it in qualifying yesterday, had another issue in the sprint showdown this morning. So this is just an extension of practice really for Gasly before the Grand Prix, where he'll have to start from the back tomorrow. Points only for the top 8. He needs to find 5 places in 3 laps. That's a pretty long order for this one. But he's actually showing much better and at least can build up some level of confidence in this car.
So de Vries is close to Hülkenberg. We're riding on board with Gasly, who is close to Zhou Guanyu, and they're the closest batters on track, which is why we're looking at it. Piastri's flirting with DRS. He's around a second with Alex Albon, but no repercussions for the race tomorrow. You can send a late lunge like Lance Stroll did without risking your grid slot, and there's a slam dunk pass for Nick de Vries to the inside of Hülkenberg, who is fading and seems to have some sort of underlying problem beyond tyres.
Perez is gone. 2 seconds now, nearly 3 seconds out front. So was he just hanging back a few laps and now he's still lapping well? Leclerc was second a lap off his best lap of this sprint on the last lap. that Verstappen wasn't a huge amount quicker. Just nudges within a second of Charles Leclerc again now. A couple of laps to go after this one, and Max will get the DRS on Charles. Battle for second still on. The battle for the win surely will go to Sergio Perez. The medium tyres, are they fading as well as the soft? I mean, Bottas was very vocal with how the soft's gone. The mediums, Stroll's just done a personal best, and the Aston Martin, the DRS obviously working in this session, allowing him to pass Alex Albon. Leclerc and Verstappen both just dropping off the pace.
Making our way through the final stages of the opening sprint of the season. That's the sound and sight of your race leader, who has, remember, it was under a second a few laps ago. He has disappeared, as Jolien told you a few moments ago. Now our attention moves to Verstappen trying to get inside a second, but he knows there's no repercussions to the Grand Prix. How much does he want that extra point? At the moment, 2-point swing Perez's way in the World Championship.
Leclerc's pace has just plummeted. 1.2 seconds he was slower than Perez on the last lap. Verstappen is no quicker, crucially, and so Max can't. He was actually outside of the DRS zone on that lap, and they're both slower than Russell, Sainz and Alonso behind. Russell and Sainz were actually half a second quicker than this duo on the last lap. They're not going to get there before the end of this one, but they've gone through the tyres pretty quickly in the dirty. You see Verstappen sliding his way through turn 5, desperate to try and get onto turns with Leclerc and earn himself an extra point before the end of this one. The DEG is way higher than anyone was expecting.
And that is the nature of the weekend format when you only have one practice session. Normally on a Friday night, you're doing your long run pace, you're getting the data. Wasn't available because they were qualifying for the Grand Prix. Every session mattering enormously this weekend. We have 6 sprints this season, and we will be doing this format again in Austria, in Belgium, Qatar, Austin and Brazil. And the teams learning as they go, feeling their way through the weekend, and Charles Leclerc doing everything he can out of that 16th and last real corner on the racetrack, because these are flat sweeps. This is a great view of one way, heading down the turn 7, the other way, roaring past, building up past 200 miles per hour, and the drivers finding themselves on the final lap of the sprint. And we've seen drag races to the line in the past. Can Verstappen set up another one for P2?
Leclerc loses another half a second compared to his previous one, 1.5 seconds compared to Perez. The tyres are gone on the Ferrari. Russell's nearly a second quicker than Leclerc now. If this were a Grand Prix, it'd be in big trouble. We're only about 10 genuine laps into this one, and the medium tyres are absolutely shot on the Ferrari. And Verstappen's going to have one big chance at coming back, I think.
Yeah, Verstappen is going to have an opportunity here. You can see the Ferrari using more of the road, and as we saw earlier in the season, one lap pace with Charles Leclerc, who qualified in Jeddah, P2, then had that penalty, so didn't start on the front row. But the Ferrari tyre wear there was not what they wanted. Melbourne, they felt they took a step forward in the 3rd round of the season. Now at Baku, ominous signs for the Ferrari team. But Charles Leclerc scoring good points at the moment. Will it be good points for 3rd? Will it be good points for 2nd? Can Verstappen put something together in the final meters of the sprint?
Yeah, we've seen drag races to the line around this circuit for 2nd place between Stroll and Bottas, famously, back in 2017. I don't know if Max is going to be close enough this time. He'll get DRS, but he's also struggling with his tyres, and Leclerc should be able to hang on.
Out of the final corners for the final time, the man who has been on the podium here more times than any other circuit on the Formula 1 calendar is going to get another brilliant result in Baku. Sergio Perez wins the sprint and takes the checkered flag for Red Bull. Charles Leclerc scores more points right now than he has done for the rest of the season with 2nd place, and Max Verstappen completes the top 3 after a bit of argy-bargy with George Russell in the opening laps.
Anda dapat problem.
Checo's day once
Tapi ada kemungkinan
again on the
nyalip kah?
streets of Baku. He won his first ever Grand
Wah, nggak
Prix
bisa.
here for Red Bull.
Bisa nggak ya nyalip Bottas sama Hulkenberg?
A couple of years ago, and that is his first sprint victory. More great days.
Nggak bisa kejauhan.
For this man who
Bottas
simply
kejauhan.
adores street circuits. The Street Fighter at it again.
Okay, tidy job, P1.
Well done, guys. we did what we had to. Well done there. Good job, guys. And we will get them tomorrow again.
He's been really, really strong this weekend, has Sergio Perez. Right up there with Verstappen over one lap. Yesterday Max came out on top, today it was...
So, thank you semuanya yang mungkin udah mampir. Udah like, udah subscribe. Besok balik lagi. Kayaknya jam 6 atau jam 5 gitu. Nggak tahu lah, pokoknya mulai dari 1, 2, 3 bakal live reaction lagi. So bye bye.